following program is not suitable for young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Magandang tanghali po mga kaibigan. Welcome to Prangkahan. Ako po si Dody Lacuna. Alam niyo po, patuloy po ang kaso, pag-usad po ng kaso laban po kay Major General Carlos Garcia. Nababanggitin po ang kanyang asawa at kanyang ina. Ngayon po, hindi po natin kasama ang asawa o ina po ni Major General Carlos Garcia. Kasama po natin ang isa pong asawa po ng isang retired general who is now more than willing to speak out. Partly against corruption in the military, but also partly on the righteousness at saka po yung tamang paglilingkod po ng mga ibang general po sa Armed Forces of the Philippines. Naman ang lahat po ng mga general ay may bahid po ng korupsyon na nababantad po ngayon sa pahayagan sa media po na may kinalaman po si Major General Carlos Garcia. Kasama po natin si Mrs. Mary Luciano Yoro. Siya po ang may bahay ng retired General Eli Yoro. Incidentally po, si General Eli Yoro, ang asawa po nating bisitang si Mrs. Mary Luciano Yoro, ay kaklase po ng current Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong of Singapore. Si General Yoro din po ay former regional commander ng PNP Regions 1 and 5. So magandang tanghali po sa kanila, Mrs. Yoro.
Magandang tanghali naman, Dody.
Alam niyo po, tinatawagan ko po yung ibang mga asawa po ng generals, ano po. At wala po tayong nakuha pong magandang kasagutan sa kanila except that hindi na muna daw sila magsasalita. Ano?
Yes.
So let it not be said na hindi po natin imbita po iba pong asawa ng iba pong mga active generals na sana'y makakapagkaloob din ng magandang pahayag ukol po sa mga issue na may kinalaman po sa military establishment today. Yeah. But we're so thankful that Mrs. Yoro, Mrs. Mary Luciano is gracious enough to join us in this live talk show dito sa Prangkahan. So ano ba masasabi niyo rito tukol ba sa involvement? Hindi, una-una, tatanungin ko kayo, ukol sa involvement po ni Major General Carlos Garcia sa mga bintang na ito. Ano ba ang personal na naramdaman niyo being the wife of a retired general?
Well, of course, as a wife of a retired general, kami, nag-usap-usap kami ng mga ibang asawa, nalulungkot kami kasi lahat ng mga asawa namin nagsilbi din ng mabuti sa bayan. Marami din mga generals dyan that they work hard, they work dedicatedly, and wala silang hinahangad na mga iba pang kung ano-ano. Pero pag sinabing may corrupt na general, damay na lahat. At pag sinabing corrupt yung asawa ng general, damay din kami na lahat. And the reason why I'm here and I accepted your invitation is because there are too many out there, mga wives din, hardworking wives. They make sacrifices for the country too.
Pag sinabi niyo pong damay ang asawa po ng isang general na akusado, paano pong nadadamay po yun?
Siyempre, pag umiikot ka sa mga civilian, tatanungin ka, General, ganun pala ang ang takbo sa military, parang kaagad nasampal ka na eh. Para bang you are put in a defensive position samantalang di ka naman kasama doon.
Sinasabi mo, binabati lang ma'am kayo, Mrs. Yoro, binabati lang kayo.
Yes. They ask you questions.
They ask you straightforward questions sa parang kasama kayo, damay kayo doon sa kalukuhang ginagawa ng isang
And
general.
it's a general perception, Dody. It's really very sad, no? And
What is the general perception? Na damay yung asawa doon sa ginagawa ng general?
Yes, most of the time. And for those who are really looking for something behind that, titignan ka pa mula ulong paa, they try to see if you know, maganda ang suit mo or marami kang alahas. Sa isip nila, pare-pareho lang kayo. Ganun.
So pag maganda ang suit mo, talagang may parang ang dating, may kinalaman na yun.
Ang dating ay gano'n.
So,
and there are really some, a few of them na malakas ang dating, but not all of us.
So how do you cope up with that kind of hurt, no? Kasi alam natin, sabi mo nga, nadadamay na magsasabihan ka na pagtatanungan ka ng kanyang klase mga tanong na
well,
how do you cope up with
depende.
that kind of,
kung ang nagtatanong is a complete stranger, of course, you have to give him a background of what has transpired in your own experience as a wife. Pero usually, pagkakilala mo naman, they are also more sympathetic to you and ask you, oy, ganun pala karami ang pera nila, ba't kayo walang pera? So, it has its downside, it has its upside.
So marami nakakapagsabi sa inyong, ganun pala, wala kayong pera. Pero marami nakakapagsabi sa'yo, kasi yung mga naghihinalang marami kang pera at maganda ang pananamit mo at marami kang alahas.
Well, before, considering the background of General Yoro, they always presumed that we had money. But through the years na nakikita nila, our lifestyle has remained very simple. We have simple cars, simpleng lifestyle. All of a sudden, they seem to realize na, wow, wala ang pera yan. Siyempre kung minsan parang na-hurt din yung pride mo, pero you come at a certain point in your life na those are not what are really important.
So what was the background of General Yoro na nag-suggest ng ganitong klaseng pananaw na ukol sa kanyang pagkatao? Sinasabi mo medyo negative at the start, no?
Yes. Well, because he served under under President Marcos for 11 years.
He served under President
Yes.
Marcos 11 years as...
First as his security officer and then later as aide-de-camp.
He was the aide, I understand that he was the senior aide-de-camp, no?
Yes.
Of President Marcos
Yes.
for many years.
11
Not
years.
just because he served under President Marcos at that time, actually conveyed that kind of image na he was not, he was making money, he was making illegal money, ganun ba?
I think at that time, maaaring hindi, no? But I think in the Filipino culture, it's a perception that when you assume a position of power, all of a sudden you become affluent. It's really very sad because it reflects also something in the culture of the Filipino.
Parang sinasabi mo na it's almost standard perception for a general to convey power and wealth, no?
Yes.
With his
Yes.
uniform, no? With his
Yes.
uniform, with his position.
Yes. And I was innocent of all of that. Ignorante ako when General married me. I was a probinsyana. Ano bang malay ko dyan sa power play na yan? And we got married in June 1965. And in November, when President Marcos won, he was called to...
So, nung pakasal, pinakasala mo sa General Yoro.
Goodbye na kaagad in November.
Yeah,
I
pero wala
lost
ka
my
pa,
husband.
wala kang kinalaman sa mga ganyang image.
Wala akong alam, wala
So
akong
medyo,
alam.
you went into that marriage naive. At
Yes, very naive.
unmindful of expecting.
Unmindful, yeah.
So
Yes.
kailan lumabas itong usap-usapan na ganyan pala mga general na pwede palang pagkinalaan na
Actually, I think it would have started after the departure of the Marcos. Kasi ang perception nila, they were accusing the Marcos regime of so much corruption. Siyempre, kung sino yung nasa circle of influence or power at that time, they were all subject to that perception.
Your husband, after he became a senior military aide to the former president, also became very active in operations in the military establishment.
Yes.
Having been named, I understand, as far as I remember, provisional commander, or regional commander.
Yes.
Was a regional commander of regions 1 and 5. No? So when he became regional commander, we're talking about General Eli Yoro, mga kaibigan. He became regional commander of regions 1 and 5 during the Marcos time. So, unti-unti na mabago ang pagtingin mo sa asawa mo, no? When he became regional commander. May mga usap-usapan naman dyan na hindi naman tungkol sa asawa mo, no? Baka tungkol sa ibang generals, no? Si general na ganito, maraming pera, si general na ganito, maraming kotse. So, how did that affect you? When this talk started,
Well,
how
actually,
did you,
kuminsan di mo naman actually naririnig directly, no? But as years went by, I believe I continued to remain very naive and just went on with what I was supposed to do as a military wife. And hindi ko masyadong pinagtutuunan ng pansin yung gano'n, no? But sometimes, in the course of time, parang nakikita mo, meron ding mga kokonti, iilan na nag-iiba ng lifestyle. And you would wonder what's going on.
Hindi mo sinabi marami, ah. Sinabi mo konti,
Hindi, sa totoo lang naman, Dody. Noong panahon namin ko, konti. I really don't know about that. My husband has been retired for 10 years now. And although I have kept in touch with a lot of people in the active service, hindi na ako masyadong in sa whatever talk they have. Yes. But basically, I think what I would like to express is that behind these men who do their job for their country, there are also a lot of women behind them, meaning the wives, who made a lot of sacrifices, no? Ako, I can speak for myself. Would you believe it? I delivered all of my 4 children without my husband.
Without your husband's presence?
Yes, without my husband. nagsasakripisyo rin yung mga misis, no? So, kung meron mang iilan dyan na that have given the ladies a black mark, I strongly believe they are just a minority.
So during that tenure of retired General Yoro when he was when he was regional commander of regions 1 and 5, so nanatili kang tiwala sa kanyang kakayahan na isa siyang matinong general.
I
Was there
would
a
think
time
so.
in your life during that time na nagkaroon ka ng pagdududa? Or you always expected your husband to be clean and upright?
Well, kaming mga wives, siyempre, lagi kaming believe sa mga husbands namin, no? We love them truly and we try to take care of our family in their absence. And we may not be with them all of the time, 100%, no? But I strongly believe that there are men like him, like my husband. Siyempre, hindi ko sinasabing he's a saint. Oh, he has a lot of misdemeanors during his time, I'm sure. He was young, he was handsome. But I strongly believe he had in himself a strong sense of values.
So when he became general, did those demeanors haunt him, or did those demeanors become less and less as his career as a military career ascended?
Siya naman kasi in the course of his rise in rank, he was a very caring and giving person. He is more of a giver than a receiver, no? So marami siyang kaibigan, marami siyang tinutulungan, and I can honestly say that the money was not always the consideration. He might have had some misdemeanors along that line, but let me just tell you that as our life went on and became complicated, there was not always money to pay our bills. And I had to work.
That was the time when he was already a general. Was the time when he was already a general? You were having a hard time paying your bills when he was already a general?
Well, we got by, pero I mean to say, I cannot imagine having had millions of money in my bank account. Truth to tell, hindi sobra-sobrang ganun kasobra. That's why I had to work.
Kailan nangyayari yung ganung sabihin natin talaga na major, colonel, wala masyadong kapangyarihan, may kapangyarihan, pero pag naging general, naging colonel, naging general, nag-umpisa ng magtamasa ng kayamanan, magtamasa ng mga iba-ibang mga contributions, Kailan nangyayari ito? When sa type of a general, in this
I
case,
don't
the life
really
of your
think
husband,
it happens when he becomes a general.
Well, not in your case probably, but in the other cases of military generals. So can you tell us kung alam ko kung kailan nagaganap to? Pag colonel pa lang, pag colonel pa lang mayaman na. O pag colonel pa lang,
Merong colonel pa lang mayaman na. Siguro depende sa abilidad nila, no? But then it's also hard to prejudge because parang symbiotic relationship niya yan eh. You know, when you're out there in the field, I strongly believe that para kang isda kung ano yung reality ng situation mo dyan, ha? Given the corrupt environment, somewhere along the line, either lalamunin ka ng sistema or lalabanan mo and you become controversial. And in the case of General Yoro, there were a lot of times when madalas nagkakaiyakan kami. Because he becomes controversial, in the...
So he became controversial many times because sinasabi mo na either na hindi ayaw niya magpalamon o lumalaban siya. Paano ba? Ayaw magpalamon sa sistema?
He's an independent thinker and he's an independent doer. He strongly believes in the cause of the Philippine Constabulary when it was still PC. And siyempre, meron din silang trabahong hindi namin alam, pero by and large, alam ko, natatandaan ko, madalas he gets into clash with politicians.
Okay, babalikan mo natin ang ating special guest, si Mrs. Mary Luciano Yoro, especially itong sinasabi po niya, kunan po sa natin siya ng details on how controversial her husband has become through the years in the military service. Pagkaraan po lamang ng ilang reminders dito po sa Prangkahan. Welcome back to Prangkahan, mga kaibigan, with Mrs. Mary Luciano Yoro, the wife of the retired General Yoro. Mrs. Yoro, ukol sa mga kontrobersiya na naharap ng inyong asawa, si General Yoro. Bigyan niyo kami ng mga dalawang instances na nagpatunay na ganyan pala ang kalooban ni General Yoro, na hindi basta-basta papakain sa sistema, papalamon sa kapaligiran na umahamon sa kanyang kakayahan at kalooban?
Well, one of the painful things I remember that he went through was he was a colonel in a particular zone. Zone pa noon ng PC, hindi pa region.
During the time of Marcos yan, ano?
Yes.
When he was a colonel, ano?
Yes. And the zone means from Cagayan up to Bulacan is Zone 1. PC Zone 1. And he was a colonel. I cannot particularly remember the position that he was holding, but I think he was the provincial commander of Tarlac. May nahuli siyang isang truck ng, hindi isa, dalawang truck yata ng catalogs. Okay? Siyempre, walang papeles. Di inimpound niya. Inimpound niya sa kampo. Siyempre, yung may-ari, maghahanap na yan ng padrino. Okay? Nakahanap naman ng padrino, ewan ko kung sino, but his senior officer, galit na galit sa kanya. Imagine it's a colonel, ang boss niya is a general. And the general, pinagtatatawagan lahat yung assistant provincial commander, company commander.
A general in the
Yeah, in the
high-level
zone.
general, no?
In the zone. The
This
zone.
is not the regional commander?
No, it's bigger than the region. It's a
bigger
zone. Oh. At minumura silang lahat. Bakit in-impound yung logs? Pero he refuses to call my husband.
I hear that general refused
Yes.
to call your husband.
Yes. Ayaw niyang tawagan. Kasi alam niya, hindi papalag yung asawa ko.
Natatakot ba siya sa husband mo o nahihiya siya?
Dapat mahiya siya. Kung hindi siya takot, okay lang. Pero mahiya siya. Because that was my husband was doing his duty. At lahat, yung mga assistant, tinatawagan niya, na sabihin daw sa asawa ko, i-release yung dalawang truck ng logs. And my husband simply refused to do it. Until finally, napilitan siya, tinawagan niya. And sabi naman ng asawa ko, okay lang sir, i-release ko pagdating ng papeles, pag kompleto. Lalo siyang minura. Yeah. And the last time I...
Ano nangyari sa husband mo at that time? Tinanggal siya sa
well,
posisyon?
obviously, he was relieved.
He was relieved, ha?
Of course.
He was relieved.
Of course. He was relieved.
And then how did he take it? Siyempre, magkasama siya, sinangguni siya ito nangyari sa kanyang trabaho.
Oo,
How did he take it?
Like always, is talagang masama ang loob niya. Masama ang loob niya.
Did he file a complaint? Did he file a petition?
No, he did not.
Did he confront that general who relieved him?
No.
He did not.
Basta he was relieved, but in the midst of his relief, during the turnover ceremonies, I can clearly remember all the high government officials of that province. They were all there. They were all so sad. The wives of the officers that were there were crying. Their sympathy was obviously for General Yoro because he was a good officer. He was not perfect, of course, but he can do things quite bullheadedly.
So, may kinalaman pala yung pagiging general niya under Marcos when he was a senior military aide of Marcos na ganyang marunong tumayo sa panindigan ng tama.
Yeah.
May kinalaman ba ito dun sa panunungkulan niya bilang very close military aide of the former president?
Yes, I would think so. Kasi, well, like they say, Malacanang is always a snake pit, ano? Marami ding intriga doon. And siya, ang relationship niya with then President Marcos was very personal. It was like, ang treatment niya is parang niyang tatay, ganon. He would really oversee the things that the President needed. He worked hard. But then there were, alam mo, hindi na aalis siguro yung ganon, no? There were a lot of intrigues that accompanied the territory, so to speak. So, wala ring, ano. And later on, when he was assigned in the field, I think he was a lot happier.
So alam po natin na the former president was ousted in 86. Alam po natin the dictatorial regime of the president was not exactly, was against a democratic way of life. Hindi po ba? So yung values na ganyan na kontra sa kultura ng Pilipino, kontra sa tama, kontra sa tunay na kalooban para sa bayan at ng Diyos na maraming naniniwala na hindi naisulong na ang dating Pangulong Marcos. So hindi naging daan ito para magkaroon ng ganyang pananaw si General Yoro.
Hindi naman nag-iba ang kanyang pananaw. He sincerely believed that he was serving the country and he was serving a good president. And actually, nag-backlash sa kanya yon because after a while, after the Marcoses left, in spite of his very good record as a military officer, hindi siya makakuha ng assignment na maganda.
Ano payo mo sa kanya, ma'am? Ano advice mo sa kanya, Mrs. Yoro? Nung natanggal siya sa Tarlac? At that time, ano naging advice mo sa kanya?
Well, ako lagi ang sinasabi ko, they cannot put a good man down. Sooner or later, makakabawi ka rin. But of course, I was very much pained. Kasi pag nakikita mo yung asawa mo na ganun, masakit. And even during his experience as regional commander in Region 5, yun ang matindi, Dody.
When he became regional commander in Region 5,
yes.
That was what year?
I think that was in 1994.
In 1994?
Yes.
Ito yung kontrobersiya na talaga pumutok sa media.
Yes. You
Kung
wake
saan
up one day and he was headline ng dyaryo. My gosh,
1995.
it was really such a difficult time for me.
So such a difficult time for you and for General Yoro. Because it was that time when he was relieved as the Bicol Regional Commander.
Yes. Okay lang na ma-relieve but when you are accused by some politicians that you amassed a whooping amount like I think they accused him of having accepted 10 million pesos of wetting money, yun ang masakit. Because nasaan ba yun? Hinahanap ko. Saan napunta kung meron?
Pero he's really against wetting ever since? He was really against wetting? O medyo kahit pa paano
Well, hindi mo masasabing against.
Did you look the other way when he was colonel?
No, ang nangyari kasi naman doon,
when he became general, nag-ibad ba ang pananaw niya ukol sa problemang yan?
Hindi rin naman. Kasi parang yung issue yan is, nandiyan na yan eh. They come and go, pero yan, laging nandiyan yung issue yan. Doon nga sa Bicol, ang nakakatawa, at that time na na-relieve siya, yun ang talagang nakakatawa. The situation was like, the politicians were...
So let's have it in context. That was 1995.
Around 1994 yata.
Oh, 1994, during the time of former President Ramos. Ang nagpatanggal sa kanya mismo si Presidente Ramos because of this controversy.
Yes.
He was, I think, being investigated for coddling, a wetting. He was the one being investigated. Umpisa yata na, hindi naman siya talaga ang target eh.
Siyang nag-submit ng confidential report.
Confidential report.
Because President Ramos knew very well who were these people.
So he submitted the confidential report detailing the illegal activities of a wetting lord.
Not illegal activities yet, kundi yung the attempt to parang centralize the operation.
Collection.
Yes.
Sino may kailangan
Because of that time, I think ang mga politiko na nakaupo doon belong to opposing parties.
Sino politikong ito? Sino? Natatandaan mo may politiko? Was it the governor? Governor ito yata nakabangga niya, di ba? Governor? Was it the governor or congressman?
No. Yung dinatdan doon na government, I'd rather not say the name, no? But yung governor doon, in due respect to my husband, nung sinabi niyang, tigil yan. Tumigil naman, okay? But there was another group, they wanted to encroach on the territory of this governor because they belong to another province.
Kasi nakita nila, natuwa sila, natanggal na yung wetting, natanggal ng tatigil yung wetting by Governor Sanso.
It's like this. Para bang,
papasok sila ngayon.
Para bang sinasabi, Yoro, paalisin mo nga yun at may masarap na cake dun sa bahay niya at kami ang kakain ng cake. Para bang ganon?
So pumasok yung second group?
No, they were attempting.
Okay.
They were attempting. Pero it did not materialize nga kasi when he submitted the report, pumutok na kaagad na siya ang nag-aano ng wetting, which is really so sad.
Pumutok na siya ang nag-encourage at siya protector ng mga wetting lords.
Exactly.
Sa Bicol at that time.
Kaya hindi siya tumagal dun eh. But nung nangyari yon, I would like really now, I can publicly say kung nanonood yung mga taga Bicol, they were really so supportive of my husband. Would you believe it? Nag-picket sila nung dumating dun yung DILG. Nag-picket yung mga officers ng Camp Ola at saka yung mga taga Bicol.
Sinasabi mo, nung dumating ang order ng DILG,
Yes,
relieving him of
they
his
were
command.
protesting and they were carrying placards na General Yoro, we are supporting you, General Yoro, we love you, General Yoro, you are a victim, mga ganon-ganon. And
Binaligtad, sinasabi mo, ma'am, binaligtad yung istorya.
Binaligtad yung istorya.
Pinalabas na si General Yoro ang
Yes.
protector ng mga
Protector,
wetting lords sa
oo.
Bicol. When in fact,
Yes.
he was the one nga against the illegal numbers game in Bicol.
Yes,
Ganun.
oo.
Ba't nakamakit pa saan yan? Sa level ni Presidente Ramos at that time.
kasi nag-submit nga siya ng confidential report.
And
Well, obviously, the report was not confidential kasi somebody got ahead into it. And we woke up one morning na General Yoro sack. Oh my goodness.
yun ang headlines.
Yun ang headline the
Yoro
next
sacked,
day. Oo. And the thing is, actually, during the investigation, so kumuha ng lawyer si General Yoro, no? And we won the case. And
So you won the case before
yes, he was cleared.
You won the case before the DILG. Ano ba?
Yes.
And
And the lawyer,
so he was cleared. No? He was cleared.
yes, he was cleared. But what good does it do?
So when
They
he
did
was
not
cleared,
reinstate him.
did he not expect President Ramos to retain him or reinstate him as regional commander of Bicol? Did he not expect that from the president
Well,
to remove him?
siyempre, dapat lang, no? That would have been the right thing to do. That's why sabi ng lawyer, General, this is one case that I won over which I'm very sad. Because wala naman nangyari, na-clear ka nga, pero wala. Same banana.
So ano nga ginawa ni General Yoro nung na-clear siya? Nakalad nung wala siya kinalaman. Ano na alam?
Well, that made him happy, of course, but career-wise, wala na. Wala na.
So mga kaibigan, balikan po natin ating special guest, si Mary Luciano Yoro, Mrs. Yoro, ang asawa po ni retired General L. Yoro. Pagkaraan po lamang ng ilang reminders dito po sa Prangkahan. Back to Prangkahan mga kaibigan with our special guest, Mrs. Yoro. Alam po natin na may mga kontrobersiyang naranasan na yung husband in the same way na may mga kontrobersiya rin ng ibang generals from the military and police na naranasan ng ganyang panapasok. Hindi naman natin sinasabi na si General Yoro lang ay mayroong ganyang klaseng kalooban at karanasan na nagpapatunay na siya po isang matinong general na marunong manindigan po para sa dapat at karapat-dapat, legal and proper. No? So that was really controversy. No? Many police officers and military officers also shared that kind of controversy and even worse, no? I believe. No? So from the controversy, kontrobersiya nga, ano tingin mo? Did General Yoro remain to be controversial? Or was there a time when you thought na he was being exceptional?
Well, I thought out of that experience, marami rin namang bumati sa kanya na maganda ang sinasabi. And I think he was exceptional in the fact that at that time he was being haunted by the media. Maraming tumatawag. They wanted to interview him, get his side, sabihin niya na ganito, na
Maybe his
ganyan.
reaction after he was cleared ba? After he was cleared? Or
Yes.
in the middle of the incident?
Yes, even during the controversy actually. But to his credit, hindi siya, ayaw niya. Because he respected the decision of the president. It was enough for him that he was cleared. It was enough for him that people in Bicol were so supportive of him kasi alam nila talaga who are the characters involved. And he respected the fact that yung decision ng presidente yon. So, as the highest official of the land, he was a good soldier and he just withdrew and licked his wounds, so to speak.
He did not speak out against the president at that
He
time?
did not speak out against the president.
So he did not pursue whatever he believed was what was right and what was wrong.
Well, in due time, malalaman din naman yan.
So sa ano yun? Sa anong naging controversial siyang figure? Ano bang nakita mong parang naging tukso? Nagkaroon ba ng mga lumalapit sa kanya na, sige, tanggapin mo na yung ganyang alok ng mga wedding lords para anyway na parang nabastos ka rin or what, wala ka na ng trabaho, di ba? Parang, di ba? Dapat meron kang pagkakakitaan or something to get you by, di ba? Wala mo ganun tukso sa kanya?
Hindi ko lang alam yung personal niyang feelings about that. Pero at the time when we lived in Crame, ang alam ko, laging maraming tao sa bahay namin from mga 6 o'clock in the morning, favor seekers, mga nagpapatulong, pero mostly nagpapatulong.
But this is after Bicol? This is after Bicol?
Oh,
after he was relieved, di ba?
Oh, after
Ano ba
Bicol. After
tukso?
Bicol, of course, you lose your friends. I mean to say, yeah, it's really funny.
After Bicol, he lost his friends.
Well, siyempre, there's a subculture existing in the...
Kaya sinasabi ko, nung medyo he was down, wala bang lumapit sa kanya para puksuhin siya, para
wala. What do they care about somebody who's not in a position anymore? Ganyan ang subculture dyan eh. It is as if character integrity doesn't count.
So after he was relieved and thoroughly disappointed that he could not really be reinstated again after he was cleared, hindi ba naging disappointed siya tungkol sa
Of
system?
course, of course.
So inisip niya, hindi niya ba inisip na magpapayaman na lang ako? Ibig ko sabihin, dapat magkaroon na lang ako ng kapangyarihan para
Hindi.
did he not covet power and did he not
Hindi
say na,
nga eh.
dapat pala naging ganito na lang ako, kamukha ng mga wetting lords. Dapat
Hindi
pala
eh.
gano'n na lang ako, kamukha ng mga gambling operators sa Bicol.
Hindi rin eh.
Dapat gano'n na lang ako para.
Hindi naman. That's why sometimes I call him Don Quixote de la Mancha, you know. Parang hindi naman. He was sad, but he was not really bitter. And he just took it in stride and rested on his past laurels. Because marami na rin naman siyang naging accomplishment. And it was very satisfying, of course, na yung mga natulungan niya were always there for him. When I say tinulungan, these are the small people na their requirements are little, o yung mga nagpapatulong lang na ganito, maghanap ng trabaho, small things like that. So,
Ano naging advice mo sa kanya, Mrs. Yoro, after this incident?
well, I think I could not verbalize it, but actually, parang ako ang mas galit na galit.
Ikaw mas galit na galit.
Ako mas galit na galit at that time. And siyang nagte-temper sa akin. Sinasabi niya, hindi bale. Sabi niya, okay lang yan. Bata pa ako. Kakabawi pa tayo. Alam naman ng tao kung anong totoo. Ganon. So, at that time when I was actually...
Kung meron palang dapat pigilan na mamaril, ikaw pala yun. Hindi pala siya dapat pigilan mamaril, kundi pala ikaw.
He was a very level-headed person and he was very realistic about the situation. But he had so much respect for the country, respect for the presidents, whoever they are. Okay lang, parang okay lang sa kanya. He was hurting inside, I knew. And even after the President Marcos left, let me tell you, when President Marcos left, hindi lang siya, kundi pati ako, damay din among the ladies. There were times na...
So the politics, no?
Yes, oo. And he could not get, he was not given any position of any significance. And masakit pag sinasabi nila later on as years went by na, yan, mga Marcos cronies yan, mayaman na yan, maid na yan.
Bakit sinasabi nila ito sa iyo? Bakit sinasabi na kayo mga Marcos loyalists, mga Marcos generals, na mayaman na kayo? May bang pinapahiwatig, di ba? In the way you dress,
Yes.
in the way you dress, and the way you
No.
conduct yourself, that mayaman
I don't
kayo?
think so. Because I never really owned any fantastic piece of jewelry that I was displaying around, or I just remained to be the same person that I was. Pero yun nga ang sinasabi ko kanina, parang pinangungunahan ka. Parang it's a perception. It's a perception.
Okay po, balikan po. Dadako naman tayo doon sa buhay po nung, kung may alam po kayo, siguro pwede niyo pahayag sa amin dahil inimbitan po din po natin yung mga ibang wives of generals, kailan di sila makakapunta. Medyo nahiya ba sila o ano pa? So medyo tukuyin naman natin ibang buhay ng mga military wives kung may papahayag nito sa amin. Dito lamang po sa Prangkahan, pagkaraan po lamang ng reminders. Welcome back to Prangkahan, mga kaibigan. Ang guest nga po natin, Miss Mary Luciano Yoro, wife po of retired General Eddie Yoro, si retired General Yoro. By the way, incidentally, is a classmate of the present Prime Minister of Singapore, si Lee Hsien Loong. So ano po, may mga text messages po tayo rito. Basahin ko lang po from Luis Alonso. Bakit po lang mahirap na general in relation to his salary? And from Tessie Tanchong ko, malaki ang bilib ko sa inyo, Mrs. Yoro, sa motto nyo. Yan, siguro meron ano ba pananaw nyo? Bakit walang mahirap na general in relation sa salary? Para raw mahirap na general, lahat daw po mayaman. Pero kayo po, naniniwala po kayo na hindi naman kayo. Pinapatulog niyo po yung katotohanan po na wala po kayong tagong yaman at hindi po kayo mayaman.
Para namang ano yan kung minsan may coffee shop, sasabihin, the best coffee in the world. Have they tried all the coffees in the world to claim that? Ganun din yan They go by, they measure by one person, no? Marami pong generals na, I will tell you, there's a general, he got sick, very sick. He was hospitalized in St. Luke's. To pay his bills and his medicine, nagko-contribute yung mga kaklase because he was not in a position to pay. And he was a former regional RCU, Regional Unified Commander, which was a very powerful position during the time of Marcos. And it was really so sad to see him sick and no money to pay his bills. Ang nagko-contribute were the men who were with him and under him at a certain point in his career. Co-contribute sila to pay his bills and buy his medicine. So I strongly object to that statement. And I know there are a lot of generals who are living comfortably maybe or living simply, but definitely they are not rich. And I can proudly say and look at you straight in the eye that we do not belong to those categories. And you can check our lifestyle. Please, I wish they would check our lifestyle.
Sinasabi po ng iba sa media no, na baka naman daw yung mga wives of the generals are the last ones to know with regards to the acquired wealth of the generals. So, malalaman din po ng asawa, di po ba?
Dapat lang.
Dapat malaman ng asawa.
Dapat alam nila.
Pero alam
At
din
dapat nalalaman nila kasi I think if they knew where it was coming from, they'd be very, very sad to know that what they are displaying outside in terms of lifestyle did not really come from very good sources.
That yung mga wives to, alam, as far as you know, no, frankly speaking, as far as you know, ilan ba mga, as far as you know, mabibilang mo ba sa iyong daliri kung Mrs. Yoro, kung ilang ang generals na maayos ang pamumuhay? Na pwede mong sabihin na talagang wala namang unexplained wealth, na hindi man nagkamalang ganyang mga pera, malalaking pera.
No, marami. Marami akong mga kaibigan. I just really do not know whether the breed of generals that we have now are very much different from the breed of generals that were contemporaries of my husband many years ago. Meron din naman talagang...
What do you think is the difference between the breed of generals now and the generals of yesteryears?
Well, I think there is an apparent change in the way they view power and position vis-a-vis the materialism that goes with it. Hindi ko sinasabi na lahat corrupt, pero meron din mga dyan. At meron ding mga misis na who become aggressive once they become the wives. Oh yes, they become the wives of generals and all of a sudden they have more stars on their shoulders than their husbands. And they flaunt it.
Mas pang estrella sa kanya.
Yes, and they flaunt it. They become bossy, they become demanding, pero iilan lang yan. Later in the show, pag tayong dalawa na lang, I can give you their names.
After the show siguro, after the show. Dahil lang sabihin ng mga pangalan
after the show.
Ito namang sinasabi ng mga misis na bakit yung mga misis na hindi naman mga tunay na misis, kaya lalakas ang loob na maging agresibo.
Yun ang masama.
Siguro,
Kaya kailangan nalisto yung mga tunay na misis.
Sinasabi mo, they're talking about the legitimate wives, no? So you're not talking about the other wives?
No. Legitimate wives. They're really some who get out of line. And dapat naman, ang masasabi ko lang through the years, dapat yung mga nag-a-appoint din sa kanila, sinisino nila. They should not just choose commanders because of their personalities or because of their connections. Dapat, pag tinitignan din nila yung track record ng opisyal bago siya maging ganito, commander, chief of staff, chief PNP, anong history niya before.
Parang gumagawa ng mga recommendations nito nasa level ng chief of staff, di ba? Nasa level ng chief of staff.
Lahat naman ng nagre-recommend, they have their interest also at heart, kuminsan.
So yung mga nagre-recommend ito, yun ang dapat mabago, no? Ang kanilang mga pananaw.
Maybe they should just change the way they evaluate people for positions of responsibility.
Siguro, balikan po natin itong mga inyong mga text questions, mga text messages, from Jose. You have simple cars. How many cars daw do you have, Mrs. Yoro?
We have 2 family cars. One is 12 years old. One is 7 years old.
From Abraham Bautista. Tanong mo kay Mrs. Yoro kung si General Gatan ba nag-relieve kay General Yoro at that time sa Bicol? Tama
I
ba yun?
refuse to name names, but if you know the personalities involved, I'm sure you may probably be right.
Talaga. From Jack Neva, kulang daw sa moralidad sa armed forces, leadership sobra sa kausapangan at walang Diyos. From James Reyes, kahit ano pang status mo sa buhay, kung bad person ka talaga at wala kang dignity, then you will do corrupt things.
Exactly, exactly. Very well said.
So what you're saying is that kapag walang dignidad ang tao, hindi naman niya basta-basta mawawala ang dignidad eh. Mawawala niya ang dignidad dahil nga hindi niya makayanan ang tukso, hindi niya makayanan ang hatak ng kapangyarihan. Sinasabi mo, nalalaman ng sistema. Kaya nagkakaroon ng inclination to do corrupt things, di ba? From Abraham Bautista again, nung nasa military kami, taga-military pala si Mr. Bautista, Abraham ba to? Nung nasa military kami, ay balita na kami na nagsusupply ng uniform ng mga sundalo. Nagsusupply daw ng uniform ng mga sundalo ay asawa ng general nung panahon ni Marcos. So, tama pala ito. Ganito pa ba yung nagaganap sa tingin mo? May mga asawa ng general sa ngayon into supplying contracts, supplying mga uniform, supplying food, whatever. No?
Let's clarify that. No? May mga babaeng very enterprising, bago pa sila nag-asawa, business na nila yan, or when they married to their husbands, they started the business that dealt with the supplies inside camp. But there are wives who are plain housewives, and when their husbands becomes generals, they become suppliers. We should make a distinction.
From my question is, what is the advantage and disadvantage of being a wife of the military? General.
Well, from my point of view, malaki rin ang sakripisyo ng pagiging asawa ng military. Kasi, like in my case, the 11 years that my husband was in Palas, I never spent my Christmases with him. I never spent my New Year's with him. I never spent my birthdays with him. I gave birth to 4 kids without him. Para bang wala kang asawa. So, mahirap. Kung hindi ka matibay-tibay, huwag ka na mag-asawa ng military.
Ed Baldanos, makakatiyak daw pa kayo na talagang malinis si General Yoro.
Ano no?
Nakakatiyak ba kayo na malinis daw si General Yoro?
Alam mo, Diyos lang ang nakakatiyak ng lahat eh. Kaya naman sinabi ko from the start, he's not perfect, he's not a saint, but I strongly believe he has a better sense of values than most.
From Tonton de la Cruz of Davao City, sana maraming General Yoro na gumaya para magkaroon ng respetado sa bansa.
Maraming salamat po.
From A. Bautista again, si Colonel Yoro ba ang kasama ng grupo ni Marcos na tumakas papuntang Hawaii nung EDSA 1?
Hindi po siya kasama, naiwan po siya.
From Lieutenant Bonifacio Guerrero, maraming ganyan case sa Armed Forces of the Philippines na relieve kahit na wala silang kasalanan dahil naman mga bata-bata ang sistema dyan at sa mga nakaupo sa chain of command. Bakit di sila ang dapat imbestigahan? Naputol eh. So ano ba masasabi mo rito sa ulit?
Dapat talaga para matigil ang corruption, kung merong nagkasala, parusahin. Kasi kaya lumala ng lumala ang sistema sa military, sa paningin ko bilang asawa. The ones who did some hanky-hanky before, whether in the PNP or AFP, they all got away with it. So, yung mga younger officers, sa isip nila, magmadali na tayo. Okay lang naman eh. Wala namang napaparusahan eh. So, it teaches them a very wrong sense of justice, a very wrong sense of duty. Na pag nandiyan ka, magmadali ka na. Para pag sinipa ka, hindi ka naman makukulong eh. So, ganun. Lumalala.
So, dito sa kasulukuyang kaso ni Major General Carlos Garcia, sa tingin mo may nagawa sana ng kanyang asawa? Kaya ano magagawa ng asawa? Parang, di ba, masusunod talaga sa pamilya, lalaki. In terms of kabuhayan, in terms of business, di ba? So you think you would have done, what would you have done if you were the wife of Major General Carlos Garcia?
Well, firstly, I'm not going to issue an affidavit about the sources of the money. Second, if I were in her shoes, I would just really, leave it all to God, because maybe God is calling them for a higher purpose. Sometimes the most painful things that happen to people are the things that will make you a better person.
The things are those that will liberate you from
Yes,
yourself.
they will liberate you, and yung pinakamasakit, kumbaga, no pain, no gain.
But if would you have put your foot down against itong mga, if Major General Carlos Garcia started amassing reportedly this huge wealth when he was still a colonel, but would you have put your foot down kung ganito nangyari sa asawa mo?
Dody, mahirap sagutin yan, speculative, no? Pangalawa, I read somewhere that you can never claim to be not a thief until you are placed into a situation where you will be forced to steal. So, I refuse to judge, no? I refuse to answer na hindi ko gagawin yan or whatever. I would just say that I'm very thankful that matibay pa rin naman ang paghawak namin sa tama. Siyempre, nagkakamali, minsan-minsan, nobody's perfect. But by and large, I think mas mabuti yung umahawak ka sa tama. Kasi makakalakad ka ng diretso ang tingin mo sa tao, lalapit ka, hihingi ka ng tulong, titingnan mo sila sa mata, and alam nila when you're asking for help, they know that you need the help.
Is your marriage now with General Yoro stronger?
Oh yes, definitely. Yes. It's just the two of us now mostly.
Despite the various problems you went through, despite the ordeal, has it made you stronger as a wife? Has it made him stronger now, not as general anymore, but a husband?
Yes, definitely. Parang it makes sense na at the time na wala siya sa tabi ko for many years, it paid off na I was able to live a life that was independent and yet capable, and yet now that kaming dalawa ang he knows that I have also become my own person, and he respects me for that. He lets me do my thing. I continue to work. Siya naman, he's enjoying his retirement. He's into consultancy. And 40 years is a good relationship.
Would you say the same thing too with your friends in the military?
I think sa generation namin, matsatsaga kami at matitibay. We were more patient and more forgiving.
What you're saying, yung generation nyo ngayon, mga military wives,
Kami, yung mga
retired na, yung mga wives of retired generals, they're
oo.
more patient and more forgiving. But what about the generation of military wives today? Anong differential?
Well,
sabi mo masyado agresibo.
It's a different,
sabi mo masyado mayaman. Ba't gano'n?
It's a different scenario kasi you live in a very materialistic world. These wives now, they are all working wives. Mag-iiba ang scenario, mag-iiba ang family.
Before, it was not as materialistic as it is now.
Hindi masyado. Yes, hindi masyado. Oo. And ang competition now.
Competition in the sense?
And yung competition ng mga men spills over to the wives. So parang everybody is in tenterhooks, Nung kami, pa-easy-easy lang kami. We just knew that we were wives of officers.
So, kung merong power struggle dyan sa military leadership, kung merong recommendation dyan na marami ang involved na mga prospective promotions for military generals. So, talaga involved yung wife at saka yung mga family members?
Hindi naman involved, kundi yung napapasama ka rin eh. Kasi, you have to please.
Hindi, ngayon.
Ngayon? Oo, pakikisamahan nila yung mga boss nila. Parang merong konting capriciousness on the side. Parang ganun.
Okay mga kaibigan, wala na po tayong panahon. Thank you very much for your text messages, your questions, your suggestions. Ito po. Dito po sa Prangkahan, would like to thank Miss Mary Luciano Yoro. Siya po ang asawa po ni retired General Eli Yoro. Dati pong Regional Commander ng Regions 1 and 5. So can we have some parting statements from you, Mrs. Yoro?
I strongly believe and continue to believe that the military officers is composed by men of good character and integrity. Kung meron mang those who go astray, iilan lang naman yan. And kung minsan, di rin natin masisisi because sometimes they operate in an environment that breeds corruption, no? On the part of the wives, those who are too aggressive or too, just say too aggressive, maybe they should, take time to look inward and look at themselves and the values that they have so that they can be really behind the success of their husband, not in material ways, but in spiritual ways.
Okay, thank you very much, mga kaibigan. In behalf of our hardworking staff, Production Services, Public Affairs, Bambi Alberto, June Concepcion, Greg Vinson, our Director, Bob Bautista, thank you very much. Maraming salamat po sa inyong patuloy pagsubaybay. Maraming salamat din po. Binabati po natin ating mga kaibigan sa obra ni Juan for the wardrobe, for my wardrobe. So, thank you very much. Hanggang sa susunod po. Ako po si Dody Lacuna.